Is it sin to put makeup?
Generally speaking, yes. Again, capital Y, capital E, capital S. Now, question for you. Listen carefully. Why do you put it on?
Is it then okay for a Christian to drink wine? Is it a sin to worry? I don't see any difference between worshiping on Saturday or Sunday, so why should it matter what day that I worship on? I don't see any difference between worshiping on Saturday or Sunday, so why should it matter what day that I worship on?
It matters what day I worship on because it matters to God. You see, what matters to God should matter to me. As early as Genesis chapter 2, let's read from verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. As early as Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 to 3, we're told 3 times that the Sabbath is the seventh day. It is God's day. Exodus chapter 20, reading from verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. And the reason why I cannot change it, it is not my day, it is God's day, and God chose the seventh. I have no authority to tell God he chose incorrectly. The reason why the day matters is because it matters to God. And God chose the seventh day, and that is Saturday. The seventh day is the Sabbath, regardless of how I feel about Wednesday, Thursday, or Sunday. There's one day God has blessed. One day he's hallowed, one day he's sanctified, that is the seventh day, and he's made that clear to Adam and Eve even before there was sin. The seventh day is the Sabbath. This is God's choice, and if God is my God and I obey him, I make his choice my choice. I don't offer recommendations to God, I submit to the will of God. The seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord, and God has never ever chosen any other day and will never choose any other day, because he said, I will not alter the thing that is gone out of my mouth. And he said from his mouth, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. It is the seventh day, back then, now, and always will be. That's God's will. Make God's will your will, and your life will be blessed.
Did you know that it was the Catholic Church who changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday?
Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea, AD 336, transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday.
The Vatican and the Catholic Church have also changed the commandments, which combines the first and second commandment together, forbidding the making of graven images. They also divided the last commandment into 2, so there would still remain 10. The Antichrist system, according to the Bible, will seek to change times, the Sabbath, and laws, the commandments.
13
Worry.
The Bible tells us over and over, don't worry, don't fear, take no thought for tomorrow. To worry is to tell God, I am questioning your ability to handle a situation. Understand this about God. God put everything in place before he made Adam and Eve. When Adam and Eve opened their eyes, they had water, they had food, they had shelter, they had the right environment, they had a companionship of animals and one another. They had everything necessary for a blessed life. That's the way God functions. So we learn from Genesis 1, the creation story, that our God puts things in place. All we need to do is obey him. When God brought the Israelites into the wilderness, he deliberately took them into the wilderness. One reason was to show them he can take care of them. Jesus says, take no thought for tomorrow. The reason why we worry, I believe, fundamentally is that from time to time, we remove God from position one in our lives. And when God is no longer in position one, whatever is in position one then becomes a temporary source of sustenance. And then we have to worry because we realize that thing is not sufficient. When God stays as number one, then it gives us the courage we need, even though we cannot see the way out. When in John chapter 6, Jesus told Philip, when shall we buy?
Is it then okay for a Christian to drink wine?
The word wine has a certain emotional effect, you see. We think of alcohol. The juice of the grape is referred to in the Bible as wine. Grape juice is wine. But when we hear wine, we hear intoxicating beverage. God cannot talk from both sides of his mouth. If you study the Bible carefully, the very first reference to wine is in Genesis 9. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine and was drunken in his tent. Now, this is our introduction to alcohol. You see, he became drunk. His younger son did something to him that's not explained in the Bible. And Noah cursed him. We know that story. The second introduction to wine is in Genesis 14, where Melchizedek brought forth bread and wine. He was a priest of the Most High God. The third introduction to wine is Genesis 19, where Lot's two daughters gave him wine to drink, made him drunk. Grape juice does not make you drunk. That is what the Bible condemns, intoxicating beverages, not grape juice. Jesus Christ, who is God, Jesus Christ, who is the Word, cannot condemn intoxicating beverages and then give it to people. He does not do that because the Bible calls us to live what we preach. And so where you read wine that's intoxicating, we're referring to alcohol. But the one that Christ made when he converted water into wine was not in.
Is it sin to put makeup?
Generally speaking, yes. Again, capital Y, capital E, capital S. Now, question for you. Listen carefully. Why do you put it on? I can't hear you. Why do you now look? Listen carefully. Here's a baby. The baby has just been born. Beautiful baby, 2 legs, 2 hands, 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 ears, a nose, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes. Beautiful gums, no teeth yet. Then some adult decides, wait a minute, there's something missing from this baby that God formed. Let's bore a hole here and bore a hole here and hang some metal. Because God did not finish his work. Let's put the finishing touches on what God did. Put a hole in the ear of that child without the child's permission and hang some metal. And depending on your culture, put the hole right here. It's makeup is not